Welcome to this training video that's designed as a general introduction for home users and homeschool families using touch type read and spell. My name's Liz Day and I'm a teacher, mum to a delightfully dyslexic son who completed the main TTRS course several years ago and then recently revisited the platform to help with his GCSE revision, and I'm also a neurodiversity and mental health advocate. I strongly believe that everyone should have the opportunity to reach their own potential, and I've seen both personally and professionally how TTRS can help with this. In this training video, we're going to be covering who touch type read and spell is for, how to get started, some of the key features, how to access further support from the TTRS team. TTRS is an excellent tool for individuals with learning differences. It was first created to help children with dyslexia learn to type. It's also an excellent platform for learners of all ages with dysgraphia, processing difficulties, attention difficulties, autism, and for those without any learning differences. TTRS works equally well for adults and children, and most of what I cover in this video is relevant for both adults and children. But if you have specific questions relevant to your learners, please check out our help centre or get in touch via the 24/7 pop-up on our website. If you haven't seen a demo of TTRS yet, I highly recommend watching the demo of the first 10 modules in Level 1. It's less than 5 minutes and it will help you get a feel for how the platform works from the learner's perspective. It's also a great way to share a snapshot with others who are interested in TTRS. TTRS is a tool to help individuals acquire typing skills, but for many of our users, the main reason they're using touch type read and spell instead of other typing programs is because it's working behind the scenes to develop their literacy skills at the same time. When they type, they're spelling out groups of words with similar sound letter patterns. They also hear the words spoken aloud, see them on the screen and type them simultaneously. So this multi-sensory approach helps to build spelling and decoding skills. The course also contains many high-frequency English words, which helps learners to build sight reading fluency as they work through the modules. And because TTRS modules are short enough to help learners build momentum, they become more confident on the computer as they progress through the course. Plus, TTRS has a free writing tool that helps new typists to bridge that gap between copying lines from typing modules and actually using their newfound keyboard skills to write their own sentences and paragraphs. There are also subjects that can support vocabulary and key concept learning in subjects such as mathematics and science, and I'll talk more about these a little bit later. So let's talk now about what you'll notice right away when you start learning to type with TTRS. It teaches whole words. We present all of the letters of the alphabet in the first 3 levels. Then once a letter is introduced, it's immediately presented as part of a real word. And that's because the nonsense letter combination drills that you often find in other typing courses don't really help that much. If you think about it, when will a learner ever have to type JK, 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 JK when they're doing homework or typing up a report on the computer? Never. And actually those key combinations can be really tricky and demotivating, particularly for learners with motor skills difficulties and dyslexia. So we think it's much more effective to learn how to type a key and then start using it in real words right away. Plus, the more you type a word, the more that movement pattern and sequence of keys becomes automatic. And this is actually one of the reasons touch typing works so well for individuals with dyslexia, because it bypasses some of the thought process and gets muscle memory to do the heavy lifting in spelling. Some of our users even say that if they can't figure out how to spell a word when they're trying to write it, they'll think about where their fingers would go on the keyboard, and then they're often able to figure out the spelling. TTRS shows you how to type the keys, and I mentioned earlier we show you how to find all of the letter keys in the first 3 levels. You'll also notice some voiceover explanation of how to set the hands on the home row in the orientation modules at the very beginning. A visual keyboard and hand guide appear on your screen, showing you which fingers to use to type which key. You can always go into the settings and change how the keyboard, the desk or the hands look. And it's also worth being aware that after level 3, when you or your learner start to get the hang of typing, you may actually want to turn the hand guides off, and you can do all of this in the settings. If you're having trouble helping someone stick to the target hand position, for example, we've got some great guides and blogs on teaching typing with tips that can help. You can find them in our online TTRS help centre and the Read and Spell blog. So just type in your question or keywords and scroll through the articles that come up from the search. I also want to mention at this point that there are some learners for whom the hand position may not be that important. For example, some learners with Down syndrome use the programme primarily for the literacy and confidence building benefits, and it's not always appropriate for them to try and stretch their hands across a full-size keyboard. So hopefully you're already noticing that TTRS is very much accessible. I've explained about changing the keyboard, but you can also make a number of other adjustments to the interface under settings, including putting the font in a dyslexia-friendly format, changing the background and copy text to help learners with visual stress, enhance contrast and improve text processing. You can also make the course one-handed for someone with a physical impairment. There are settings that help support spelling and short-term memory skills and work with motivation. I'd just like to speak a little bit now about getting set up on the platform. So first of all, we recommend you use Chrome or Firefox if you have either of those browsers available, as they'll ensure you can access the programme at the fastest speeds and with the best display and audio. If you're accessing TTRS from an iPad, it's important to download the free TTRS typing app rather than going through a web browser on the iPad. You can then use it with the on-screen keyboard, but ideally we recommend using a wireless keyboard to really get the feel of the keys. There's also a free iPhone and Android reporting app that you can use to help track learners' usage and results. We're going to talk about adding users now. If you use the platform for yourself, you don't need to set up a student account. But if it's for your child or someone you're supervising, you need to add them so that they have their own username and password. Once a student account is set up, you can give them their login details, and it's important that they log in using their details rather than as the administrator. From the Add Users screen, you can actually log in as the user, so pay attention to whether you're logged in as the admin or as the learner when you decide to open up modules, as you don't want progress to be saved to the wrong account. From an admin account, as well as adding users, you can also remove users, handle billing, view user performance and preview course content. Okay, let's talk about where to start. We do recommend that most learners begin with Module 1 of Level 1, and that's because even if they already have basic typing skills, it's a good review of consonant vowel consonant words with short vowels, so it's important for building those foundational phonic skills. The modules aren't too long, so you can go through them quickly or repeat them as many times as you like if they're a challenge. In TTRS, there's no pressure to go fast. You do have to type words correctly though to finish a module. This means if you make a mistake, it needs to be corrected before you can move on. And this deliberate focus on accuracy is a little bit different from other programs. Also, the interface is purposely distraction-free and we don't have bright graphics or games that can take away from the learning and cause problems for users with attention and visual processing difficulties. The score at the end of the module reflects completion and error rates, and you'll hear applause to add to motivation. We recommend aiming for 80% or above on a module before moving on. If you do find that the course is too easy and your learner's getting bored doing the earlier modules as a review, we recommend you open up the course yourself as the administrator and scan through modules until you find a place that you think is more suitable for them to move on to. Then you can unlock modules so that that learner can skip the modules in between. Before I talk about the subjects we've created in addition to the main course, an important thing to note is what voice you're using the platform with. If you choose a US voice in settings, you'll have US spelling in the modules and vice versa for the UK option. Some spellings do obviously differ, and we don't want to confuse learners who are trying to improve their spelling. You'll also have access to slightly different subject content. So aside from the main TTRS course, we have subjects, and you'll see the option in the top menu bar when you're signed into the platform. There's mathematics, science, phonics and English. For US users, we ask science, math and English teachers to create a series of courses based on common core material. For UK users, we have from Key Stage 1 through to some GCSE-based subjects such as science and business studies. As well as the curriculum-related subjects, we also have subjects related to areas of interest such as art, music, the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and a series of subjects on neurodiversity such as ADHD in me, dyslexia in me, and autism in me. Definitely look at the subjects when you get a chance. Usually we recommend a learner completes levels 1 to 3 of the main course before trying subject material to ensure they've acquired the necessary typing skills first. Then you can choose how you want to integrate the subject modules alongside the TTRS course. For example, you may ask your learner to do several main course modules and one subject module every time they go on to TTRS, or you may suggest that so many times a week they just do the main course and then any additional times they do subject material. These modules teach vocabulary and contain key definitions. We don't expect a user to learn the subject from a module alone, but seeing, hearing and typing out keywords and concepts can be a great way to prepare for the year ahead, reinforce and support their current learning, and review past material. It's also really helpful for learners with dyscalculia to have a multi-sensory way to practice with numbers, and for learners with dyslexia to get more practice with hard-to-spell, subject-specific vocabulary. This brings me on to how long and how often you should have a learner do TTRS. We generally recommend at least 3 or 4 sessions a week and doing 2 to 3 modules per session. But this is a really general guideline, and you'll need to adjust your expectations based on how your learner is doing, what else they've got going on, and if you have any deadlines in mind, for example, if they need to be a proficient typist for a job role or an exam. Typically, between 10 and 30 minutes of a typing session is absolutely sufficient for them to make regular progress. One thing you really want to avoid is a learner who is tired but forcing themselves to stay at the computer, because they'll tend to start making more mistakes, which can be demotivating. So try to avoid that at all costs. The idea is to help them build self-esteem, starting as small as needed, one module repeated several times in a session, for example, until they feel good about what they're achieving. When they sit down at the course, it will always open up to their last completed module, so it helps them stay on track and get straight to typing instead of wasting time navigating the programme. Motivation is obviously key, and for some students, the trophies and certificates they can earn can really add to their sense of achievement. In addition to the regular copy typing modules in the course, you'll find that every 5th module is a dictation exercise where there's no visual until they start typing. You can turn these off by toggling the dictation icon on the actual module, so if they're too challenging, ensure your learner isn't using them until they're ready. Similarly, you can turn any exercise into a dictation to challenge a learner. Dictations are an excellent tool for building spelling skills and strengthening auditory processing skills. As well as the subjects we've added with a team of experts, you can also make your own modules using our subject creator and add them. So if, for example, you want to put a child's spelling list into TTRS or a list of words someone commonly struggles to spell and practice them in a typing drill, this can be a really effective way to learn. I mentioned earlier that we've added a free writing tool, and this is an open interface which looks very much like a TTRS typing module, but it's a place where students can type their own sentences and paragraphs and get feedback on things like how many words are spelled correctly and their typing speed. Users can choose the length of the session, and you can leave feedback on their written work. It's a really good bridge to writing on the computer using the new typing skills they're acquiring. There are several prompts for anyone who doesn't know what to write about, plus there are a series of images that a learner can scroll through until they see one they like the look of, and then they can write about what they see. I want to make sure I mention again the importance of customising the course for each individual, and you can do this within the settings. You can read several tooltips by hovering over the little green question marks and learn more about different settings in the Help Centre. I'm going to explain a few now just to give you some examples. So, Remember and Repeat is a feature based on a popular classroom spelling strategy that has learners read a word, cover it, write it down and then check to see how they did. It works by getting them to enhance their short-term memory processing so that they can hold an image of the word for an extended time. When this is switched on, students see a word and type it, then it disappears and they must type it again from memory. It's really helpful if you want learners to pay particular attention to spelling for a specific module. You can get the programme to read out one word at a time, 3 words, or the whole line. We recommend 1 word at a time initially, but you may want to change this to line level audio when a student becomes more adept. The praise button can be used to turn the applause sound at the end of modules on or off, depending on personal preference. Lastly, for now, you can show typing speed in the results. In the beginning, we recommend keeping this off for the first few levels to help a learner focus on accuracy. Otherwise, it can be tempting to sacrifice accuracy to build up speed, which can be detrimental to learning in the long run. When you're ready for them to see their speed performance, just turn this on in settings. Before I finish, I just want to remind you about our online help centre. If you need support, there's plenty of guidance on there. Please also note that we have 24/7 support on the TTRS and Read and Spell websites. And if you follow our social media posts, you can get information on updates and our blogs, which cover learning difficulties and literacy skills development tips. My best advice to you is to open up your TTRS account and give it a try. You can't break it, and there's lots to discover.